Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In my most recent video, I covered a video that was published by the OG Carnivore Daddy, Shawn Baker. In this video, he discusses a recent article by the EAT-Lancet Commission, where they demonize his work and the work of other carnivore influencers and physicians in our space. This attack on Baker's credibility is nothing new, as he's had other influential gurus actually come after him and try to silence him and even call for him to be jailed. This recent article covering Dr. Baker and others in the carnivore space is because of the recent EAT-Lancet project, which requires them to publicly disparage credible figures in the carnivore and low-carb communities prior to project launch. This attempt is a do-over for the EAT-Lancet Commission, as they tried to change the world's dietary habits back in 2019. Tried and failed miserably.
Most epic fail I've ever seen.
So now Smear Campaign 2.0 begins anew with their launch of the PhD. And no, this is not Ken Berry's proper human diet. It's the planetary health diet. Here's a fun little factoid though. The original PhD reference for the proper human diet was authored by Dr. Ken Berry, who developed this and began promoting it as a lifestyle for healing during his career as a family physician. The concept was formalized in his best-selling book, Lies My Doctor Told Me, which was first published in 2017. The Planetary Health Diet was published in 2019. Interesting, yeah? Just saying. So, new year, new hit list. And Shawn Baker isn't the only one on this list. This is about global strategy to control your plate, your health, and your destiny, all wrapped up in a new policy document, the EAT-Lancet 2.0 report. In 2019, they tried to quietly mandate a 1 serving a week red meat limit to the entire planet, and this limit remains in the October 2025 release.
Are you insane? Or are your pants too tight?
But a medical and intellectual resistance is rising. Today, we're going to take a look at a few of the others who were targeted in that same hit piece, or are likely to be targeted in the near future. We're going to review the credentials and the work of physicians who are prominent carnivore influencers, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, and Dr. Robert Kiltz. These three aren't just healing people with food, they're hitting the pharmaceutical industry where it hurts in their bottom line. But stay tuned, because at the end of the video, we reveal an honorable mention. The investigative journalist who didn't just question the anti-meat science, she ripped the very rug of credibility out from under the multi-trillion-dollar industry's decades-long war on meat. This is the unmasking of the globalist agenda for the future of food. The money, the power, and the specific policies that they're pushing to take away your food freedom. You need to know about the loudest voices standing against this agenda, who they are, why they're such a threat, and how their success is the single biggest threat to the medical industrial complex. And it all starts right here on the Carnivore Science Channel. The EAT-Lancet Commission is not a typical advisory board. It's a collaboration between the EAT Forum, which is a nonprofit founded by Norwegian hotel mogul Gunhild Stordalen, and the prestigious medical journal, The Lancet. Their 2019 report and the recent 2.0 update set global scientific targets for what they call healthy diets from sustainable food systems. The core idea is the planetary health diet. This is a massive shift. Global consumption of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and legumes must double, while consumption of foods such as red meat and sugar must be cut by more than 50%. The PhD, and I hate calling it that, but it famously suggests limiting red meat to just 15 grams a day, which is roughly 1 serving per week. For those who thrive on an all-meat or carnivore diet, this is not a compromise, this is an elimination. Their plan has a dual focus, health and environment. The Commission's stated focus links human health, reducing chronic diseases like heart disease and type 2 diabetes, with environmental sustainability, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, land use, and biodiversity loss. They position red meat as a villain on both fronts, citing it as a major cause of agricultural emissions and a source of saturated fat intake linked to disease. As mentioned previously, this current push is a second attempt. The EAT-Lancet Commission first launched its landmark report back in January in 2019, and it was met with a ferocious, industry-backed public rejection. The original proposal, which aimed for a maximum of 14 grams of red meat per day, essentially one small meal a week, was slammed as unrealistic, culturally dismissive, and nutritionally unsound, particularly for its potential to cause deficiencies in iron and B12. The public outcry and coordinated media campaigns, which successfully framed the diet as an elitist attack, effectively stalled its broad adoption. Governments were hesitant, and consumer behavior barely budged. Facing this public relations failure, the Commission has re-engineered its approach with the 2025 update. They haven't fundamentally changed the diet. The red meat limit is still minimally set about 15 grams per day, but they've radically shifted their strategy and their target audience. Instead of directly fighting the consumer culture war, the new report makes a strategic pivot towards high-level policy and governance. They've broadened their scope to include justice and equity, framing the dietary shift not just as a health or environmental issue, but as a moral imperative concerning human rights, fair wages, and access to food. This move is designed to make the planetary health diet irresistible to global institutions, powerful foundations, and political elites who control policy levers. Things like food subsidies, taxation, and international trade agreements. The goal is clear: use the power of policy to enforce a global dietary change that the public already rejected through consumer choice. When an organization proposes a global dietary overhaul, the first question you need to ask yourself is, who is paying for all of this? Following the money reveals the immense power and political conflicts of interest driving this agenda. The Commission's efforts are backed by enormous non-governmental power. The original report was primarily funded by the Wellcome Trust, a foundation with roots in the pharmaceutical industry. The 2025 update expanded its funding base to include major players like IKEA Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Novo Nordisk Foundation. Critics argue that these enormous philanthropic and corporate interests create a system where processed, patentable, plant-based alternatives, often rich in soy, seed oils, and additives, stand to benefit the most from the demonization of whole, natural foods like red meat. This is a potential alignment of interest between Big Pharma, funding the health studies, industrial agriculture, promoting plant monocultures, and the emerging plant-based food tech sector. If the world gets healthy on steak and water, that's a multi-trillion-dollar market gone. The EAT-Lancet report explicitly advocates for hard policy interventions over soft nudges. This includes laws, fiscal measures, subsidies, and penalties. That's code for things like a meat tax or restructuring of government subsidies to favor plant-based production. The report specifically mentions promoting policies like subsidy taxes on unhealthy foods and restrictions on marketing. This is an agenda of top-down control attempting to remove consumer choice through economic and legal pressures. These Orwellian threats aren't just ridiculous, they're terrifying. The reason they had to launch this attack on prominent voices like Dr. Shawn Baker and Dr. Ken Berry, labeling them purveyors of misinformation, is painfully clear. The people who are actually healing others with food are a direct existential threat to the multi-trillion-dollar financial machine that funds this whole anti-meat agenda. So now that we understand the opposition, let's dive into the 4 key individuals who have the loudest voices in the room on the side of health, not corporate interest. The elite's newest most wanted list starts with the doctors who are actually pulling patients out of their multi-trillion-dollar system. First up is Ken Berry. He's a board-certified family physician, and he's also the best-selling author of Lies My Doctor Told Me, Common Sense Labs, and Kicking Ass After 50. Personally, I'm hoping his next book is titled Berryisms, Ready to Deploy Comebacks to Defeat Lies and Win Your Next Doctor's Appointment. But we'll wait and see. He's your everyday GP that you would love to have a beer with. I mean, if carnivores drink beer, but you know what I'm saying. He's most famous for exposing the system in a way that's refreshing and more often than not extremely entertaining. And on top of all that, he's living proof that the carnivore diet works. He's a former patient who's reversed his own prediabetes and obesity using a ketogenic and carnivore diet. His philosophy is simple. He's the voice of the common sense person who feels betrayed by the medical establishment. His core message is that most of the dietary advice we've been given for the last 50 years, from the food pyramid to the fear of fat, is actively harming patients and leading them towards chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes. He's a fierce advocate for using low-carb and carnivore diets to get people off commonly prescribed medications like insulin and blood pressure medication. Why is he a target? A GP turning against the system is the most dangerous kind of whistleblower. Dr. Berry's large audience is made up of everyday people who feel betrayed by their primary care doctors. He exposes the deep financial ties between Big Pharma, Big Food, and the medical guidelines. His success is a direct indictment of the entire primary care model that relies on lifelong pharmaceutical revenue. Next up is the plant-free MD, Dr. Anthony Chaffee. You are not going to find a more controversial challenge to the global-based food industry. He's an American medical doctor and a neurosurgical resident practicing in Australia. He holds an MD from the Royal College of Surgeons, has a background in molecular and cellular biology, and get this, he was a former professional All-American rugby player. So just to be clear, he's a neurosurgeon, an elite athlete, and frankly, he's built like a brick shithouse. I mean, damn. That's all I got to say about that. But seriously, the threat he poses to the status quo is existential. Dr. Chaffee is the most vocal proponent of the evolutionary argument. He asserts, based on archaeological and anthropological evidence, that humans are biological carnivores, the apex predator of our ecosystem. He claims most chronic diseases are actually caused by the toxins and anti-nutrients in plants, which he refers to as a species-specific diet. His argument is an uncompromising rejection of the entire EAT-Lancet philosophy. They want you to believe in the necessity of plants for health. Dr. Chaffee argues the opposite, telling people to eliminate all plant matter. If the plant-free MD is right, the entire planetary health diet is fundamentally flawed and dangerous. And next we have Dr. Robert Kiltz. He's not just an unconventional doctor, he's kind of an unconventional human. And he uses that out-of-the-box approach to disrupt the treatment of infertility and reproductive health defects with nothing but steak and fat. Dr. Kiltz is a board-certified OBGYN and reproductive endocrinologist. He's the founder and director of CNY Fertility, one of the largest fertility centers in the U.S., and he's had decades of experience blending traditional medicine with a holistic dietary focus. His philosophy is all about inflammation. Dr. Kiltz advocates for a high-fat, ultra-low to no-carbohydrate diet, arguing that the root cause of conditions like infertility, recurrent pregnancy loss, diabetes, and autoimmune disorders is systemic inflammation caused by carbs and vegetable oils. The threat here is financial and profound. Dr. Kiltz teaches people how to use diet to solve infertility, an issue that the medical system typically treats with extremely expensive, multi-step procedures and medications. He's empowering the most vulnerable patients to bypass the system with simple diet changes as opposed to gambling on expensive medical interventions that can end up bankrupting young couples. And finally, we have the one journalist the global food cartel truly fears, Nina Teicholz. She's the Rumpelstiltskin of nutrition policy, the relentless fact checker that can name the lies that unravel their entire empire. Nina Teicholz is an investigative science journalist and the New York Times bestselling author of The Big Fat Surprise. She actually holds a PhD in nutrition and founded the Nutrition Coalition, a nonprofit organization dedicated to ensuring nutrition policy reflects the best science. Her philosophy is a masterpiece of exposure. Teicholz meticulously exposed how the entire anti-fat, anti-saturated fat campaign, the very foundation of modern nutritional policy, was built on flawed or weak evidence. She advocates for the return of butter, meat, and cheese, arguing the science supports the safety of whole natural animal fats. Her work led to Congress mandating a review of the U.S. dietary guidelines. While the doctors challenge Big Pharma, Nina Teicholz challenges the policies of the food industry titans. The EAT-Lancet agenda depends on the belief that red meat and saturated fat are inherently bad. Nina's work tears down that core premise, making it impossible for the elites to claim scientific legitimacy for their global meat reduction policies. She ripped the very rug of credibility out from under the multi-trillion-dollar industry's decades-long war on meat. So why are these four individuals, Dr. Chaffee, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Berry, and now policy disruptor Nina Teicholz next? Because the EAT-Lancet agenda is all about control, and it's a two-pronged attack. Strategy number 1, the global policy attack, the EAT-Lancet role. The EAT-Lancet Commission isn't interested in a fair debate. They're interested in forcing a change. Their 2025 report explicitly calls for taxes on unhealthy foods. This is code for taxing red meat, making it unaffordable for the working class, which then forces people into the approved flexitarian diet. Restricting marketing. They want to prevent groups, and yes, doctors and journalists, from communicating the benefits of meat-based eating. Shifting subsidies. They want to strip subsidies from livestock farmers and give them to massive industrial plant-based agriculture and the growing fake meat industry, which is often funded by the same billion-dollar foundations supporting EAT-Lancet. Strategy 2, the domestic, medical, and scientific attack, the pharma role. Doctors in this country operate under a tight leash, their medical licenses. The medical industrial complex doesn't tolerate doctors who cost the pharmaceutical industry money. When Dr. Ken Berry helps a patient get off of $1,000 a month in insulin, that's a loss of revenue. When Dr. Kiltz uses diet to help a couple avoid expensive IVF cycles, that's a loss of revenue. When Dr. Chaffee says plants are toxic, he invalidates millions of dollars in nutritional research funded by Big Food. And when Nina Teicholz proves that the science they all rely on is faulty, it threatens the legitimacy of the entire system. The system goes after doctors by questioning their judgment using terms like unconventional, misinformation, or malpractice to pressure state medical boards. They threaten the one thing these doctors have, their ability to practice medicine. And they attempt to smear journalists like Nina Teicholz by labeling her work as pro-industry, meaning they insinuate her motives are to serve the interest of big meat and dairy, all in an effort to discredit her peer-reviewed analysis. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a clear policy agenda, publicly funded, documented, and distributed. Your health and your freedom are under assault. While it's true the attacks have escalated, with some voices even calling for jail time for Shawn Baker, the true threat isn't one man. It's the growing cadre of doctors and influencers who realize the current system is fundamentally broken. They're empowering their patients and followers with the simplest, cheapest, most effective medicine in the world, meat and fat. I hope this sheds some light on some of the forces behind the scenes working hard to ruin your dinner and your life. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section below. Who do you think poses the biggest threat to the current system? And if you liked the video, if you could please smash the like button, it would help me out tremendously. And if you want more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. Also, if you're considering starting the carnivore diet, I got you covered. Take a look at this video that goes over the basics of how to start and what to expect. And again, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.